Procrastination. You've had the tab open for 3 days. The email is drafted but unsent. The project exists entirely in your head and nowhere else. And somehow, you've reorganized your entire desk, rewatched a show you've already seen, and convinced yourself that tomorrow you'll finally be ready. You won't. But it's not your fault, and it's not laziness. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. Here's what's actually happening inside your head. Your brain runs two competing systems simultaneously. The prefrontal cortex sits at the front of your brain. It handles logic, planning, delayed gratification, and long-term consequences. It's the part of you that knows you need to start. Then there's the limbic system, buried deeper, older, faster. It handles emotion, comfort, fear, and immediate reward. Every single time you sit down to do something difficult, both systems fire at once. And almost every time, the limbic system wins. Not because you're weak, because it's faster. It responds in milliseconds. The prefrontal cortex takes time to reason. By the time logic catches up, you've already opened Instagram. That's the first thing to understand. Procrastination isn't a willpower problem, it's a timing problem. Your emotional brain moves faster than your rational brain, and your emotional brain hates discomfort. But here's where it gets interesting. The discomfort you feel before starting a task isn't real discomfort, it's predicted discomfort. Your brain isn't reacting to the work itself, it's reacting to its own simulation of the work, a preview that almost always overestimates how painful the task will be. Research from the University of Waterloo found that procrastinators don't actually experience tasks as more unpleasant than non-procrastinators. They just expect them to be. That expectation alone is enough to trigger avoidance. Your brain is running away from a monster it invented, and avoidance feels like relief. That's the trap. Every time you delay, switch tabs, check your phone, or decide that now isn't the right time, your brain registers that as a successful escape from a threat. Dopamine releases, anxiety briefly drops, and your brain files that away as a strategy that works, so it uses it again and again, until avoidance becomes the default response to anything that feels uncertain or uncomfortable. You haven't been lazy, you've been trained by your own nervous system to avoid the very things that matter most to you. Now let's talk about what actually breaks the cycle. The first tool is called implementation intention, and it is one of the most replicated findings in behavioral psychology. Most people set goals that sound like this: I'll work on it later, I'll start this week, I'll get to it when I'm ready. These statements feel like plans. They aren't. They're wishes. Vague intentions give your brain nothing to execute. They live in the same mental category as I should probably drink more water. Easy to say, easy to forget. Implementation intention changes the structure entirely. Instead of what you'll do, you define when, where, and how. I will write for 30 minutes at 9 a.m. at my kitchen table with my phone in another room. Studies by psychologist Peter Gallwitzer showed that people who used implementation intention were 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through on their goals compared to people who only set general intentions. 2 to 3 times. Not because they had more discipline, because they gave their brain a specific trigger. When the time, place, and action are defined in advance, your brain doesn't have to decide in the moment. It just executes. Decision fatigue eliminated before it even starts. The second tool is what researchers call temptation bundling. Here's the problem with hard tasks. They compete with easier, more immediately rewarding alternatives. Why write the report when you could watch one more video? Why go to the gym when the couch exists? Your brain isn't choosing the worse option because it's stupid. It's choosing the option with the higher immediate reward signal. So the fix isn't to remove the temptation, it's to attach it. Only listen to your favorite podcast while doing admin work. Only watch your comfort show while folding laundry. Only get your favorite coffee when you sit down to write. You pair the thing you want to avoid with the thing you actually enjoy. Over time, your brain begins to associate the hard task with the reward. The resistance drops, the habit forms, not through suffering, but through strategic pleasure. The third tool is the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. No list, no scheduling, No thinking, just execute. This sounds almost insultingly simple, but its power is in what it prevents. Small tasks don't actually take 2 minutes. They take 2 minutes plus the cognitive overhead of avoiding them for 3 days. Every time you delay a small task, you pay a mental tax. It sits in your working memory, quietly consuming bandwidth. You think about it while you're trying to focus on something else. You feel mild guilt when it resurfaces. Then you feel mild guilt about the guilt. The 2 minute rule eliminates that entire cycle. It keeps your mental workspace clean and your momentum intact. But the biggest tool of all is understanding the 90-second rule. Research shows that the neurochemical response to a difficult task, the spike in cortisol, the resistance, the I don't want to do this feeling peaks within the first 90 seconds of beginning, not before you start, after. Once you actually begin, the discomfort rises briefly, then drops sharply as your brain recategorizes the task from threat to manageable. The anticipation is always worse than the reality, always, which means the entire game of beating procrastination comes down to surviving the first 90 seconds, not the whole task, not the deadline, just the beginning. This is why telling yourself to just do it never works. You're asking your brain to leap over the hardest part without acknowledging it exists. Instead, shrink the start so small that resistance has nothing to grip. Don't write the report. Open the document. Don't go to the gym. Put on your gym clothes. Don't send the email. Write the subject line. Make the first action so tiny, so effortless, so completely non threatening that your brain agrees to it without negotiation. Then the 90 seconds start, and once they pass, you're already inside the task. The hardest part is already behind you. There's one more layer most people never talk about. Procrastination and identity are deeply connected. The tasks you avoid most aren't random, they're almost always connected to things that matter. You don't procrastinate on watching TV. You procrastinate on writing the book, launching the business, having the conversation, applying for the thing, because those tasks carry weight. If you try and fail, it means something. If you never try, you can preserve the possibility that you could have succeeded. Procrastination becomes a protection mechanism for your ego, a way of keeping the dream alive by never actually testing it. This is why harsh self judgment after procrastinating makes everything worse. Research from Carleton University found that students who forgave themselves for procrastinating on the first exam procrastinated less on the second. Self compassion breaks the shame cycle. Shame increases avoidance. Forgiveness allows re engagement. You don't need to beat yourself up. You need to understand what your avoidance is protecting and decide whether that protection is worth the cost. So here is the full system. Name the task with complete specificity. Define exactly when and where you will do it. Make the first action laughably small. Bundle it with something you enjoy. Commit to surviving just the first 90 seconds. And when you fail, because you will, treat it like data, not evidence of who you are. Procrastination is not a character flaw. It's a misfiring prediction system that overestimates pain, underestimates capability, and confuses comfort with safety. Your brain isn't sabotaging you. It's trying to protect you from a threat that doesn't exist. The work was never the problem. Your brain's preview of the work was. Start anyway. The 90 seconds are waiting, and they're shorter than you think.